Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Culture Books podcast. My name is John. I'm joined by
Sheridan.
It is the 30th of October, 2025. This is the start of season 4, in which we tackle Ian M. Banks's book, The State of the Art, but only the culture bits.
Shortest season ever.
Well, except it's taken us 5 months for you to read 16 pages, and one of those was a picture. So let's see how we go, because the State of the Art short story is quite something. But this one we're tackling A Gift from the Culture, which was first published in 1987, the same year that Consider Phlebas was published. So for many people who read this, they would have had no previous exposure to the culture. And it's certainly one of the earliest writings on the culture.
So was it published before Consider Phlebas?
Look, this is an era where copyright dates just come in full years.
You don't have the Amazon timestamp to help you.
I did look it up. I couldn't, in a cursory bit of Googling, get to the bottom of exactly which one was first. And then there's the issue that Use of Weapons was started writing some years before any of them. So the culture had been alive in Ian Banks's mind well prior. But in terms of this story, it was definitely one of the earliest mentions of the culture. And definitely for most people who read it, certainly in 1987, or this collection of short stories, The State of the Art, was then published in 1991. It was still very much, what's this culture thing that he's referencing in here? Okay, with that out of the way, I guess, Sheridan, are you going to give us a recap in 30 seconds of what this is about?
Yep, my time to shine.
Okay. Let me reset my timer, and your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Warbeck is living on in a non-culture society, having left the culture, but he's tracked down by some culture agents to blow up a ship, which he doesn't want to do, but he's the only person that can do it with a special gun that only attaches to his genetic ID and apparently is capable of blowing up a ship. And he's conflicted because he's in love with a theatre guy, and then but he's got no choice because he can't escape, and so he does it.
You said culture agents.
I don't know. You don't know what they are, actually.
I mean, I think from the text it's reasonably clear they're just low-level gangsters on this planet.
But I mean, like, they could be agents of the culture.
Okay, but it's not specified who they're agents of. I do think it's worth exploring whether the culture had set this whole thing in motion.
Well, I think that's 100% true.
Right. Okay. But as they're introduced, these guys, what's their name? Cruzel and Caddis, are just they're not culture people. They're
correct.
They're thugs and gangsters running gambling syndicates.
Yes.
Yeah, and lots of other criminality.
Yeah, but the culture doesn't let this stuff just float around the galaxy.
No, particularly with this weird mission to destroy a...
it has to be culture that's orchestrated it. It's such a culture vibe.
Okay, all right. Well, that's with you now that you're three books into the culture, but no one else reading this in 1987 would have had that context.
Correct. In fact, why are we reading this at this point in our culture book review journey?
Because the anthology, The State of the Art, came out after...
So when was it first? So it wasn't published until... Well, when was it first published?
The short story, A Gift from the Culture, was published just in a... I don't know how it was published, but...
See, we should have done that one first then.
But it was just a short story.
Or second.
We're tackling... It was probably appeared in some science fiction magazine.
Okay.
Was the way that these short stories got published. Back in that long ago time period when science fiction's magazines.
And writers got paid.
Yeah. And a young writer could afford a studio apartment in Manhattan on the basis of selling a story every 6 weeks. Yeah, it was a different...
Yeah, it was a different era.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. Go to the text for a moment here. So a classic Banksian cold open, even right here at the very very start. Money is a sign of poverty. This is an old culture saying I remember every now and again, especially when I'm being tempted to do something I know I shouldn't, and there's money involved. When is there not? Question mark. And then we get the description of the gangsters. I was standing outside a no-credit gambling club in Vrekeslow City in the small hours of a wet weeknight, looking at a pretty, toy-like handgun, while two large people I owed a lot of money to asked me to do something extremely dangerous and worse than illegal. I was weighing up the relative attractions of trying to run away, they'd shoot me, refusing, they'd beat me up, probably I'd spend the next few weeks developing a serious medical bill, and doing what Caddis and Cruzel asked me to do, knowing that while there was a chance I'd get away with it, uninjured and solvent again, the most likely outcome was a messy and probably slow death while assisting the security services with their inquiries. So that's set quite the scene here. I'm feeling some heavy Blade Runner vibes.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Even the picture in the book is a bit Blade Runner-esque.
The picture of the gun?
Yeah.
Which earlier this afternoon you said there is no picture.
Well, I didn't notice it. I didn't see it there.
You think that's got a Blade Runner touch to it?
Yeah, I reckon.
Possibly. Yeah, we get to know the character here a little more, Robic, a little more as it goes on. What was your first impression of them?
Of Robic or of the gangsters?
No, Robic.
Well,
note my careful use of pronouns there.
True. Although Robic is a he now and identifies as a he.
Sure.
I mean, it's interesting because you don't hear of anyone leaving the culture.
Don't you?
When have we heard of someone leaving culture?
So Hawes's girlfriend in Consider Phlebas, her mother had left the culture.
Oh.
And I think there is mention of it in Use of Weapons.
Maybe it's just that this is the first time I've read about a detailed account of someone leaving.
Sure.
Which is that they help you leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a cult.
Yeah. No, they're big on anyone who wants to leave can, but why would anyone want to leave?
Well, and also, I don't really understand why Robic's left, because he's now like kind of a bit of a loser.
Mm.
I mean, his boyfriend.
Even he was like Donald Trump said, he just got sick of winning.
Because now he's like up to his eyeballs in debt.
Yeah, but he wanted to, taste the gritty nightlife of the film noir lifestyle. He's hanging out in jazz clubs and losing money gambling, and I mean, he's obviously chasing endorphins that the culture won't give him because there's no risk, and he's gone to a high risk place to live a high risk lifestyle.
Yeah, and his boyfriend doesn't really seem to love him all that much.
Yeah, we'll get into him.
Kind of a bit of a loser
as we go on, but I mean, I'd say Mouse is more just out of their depth.
You mean out of their league?
Well, I meant out of their depth, but yeah, I mean, out of their league is similar in meaning. You know, in that they don't understand anything that's going on. They didn't even really believe Robic when they said, I'm from another planet. They just thought...
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that because you don't actually know if he is involved in this.
Mouse is definitely complicit by later, and there's a lot to suggest they were responsible for Robic getting grassed up to these guys.
Yes.
But if it was always a culture plan to involve Robic in this, then they didn't need Mouse to do that.
But the culture always does things in a way it's quite a sort of conniving way that they'll get things to happen.
Well, the minds are literally playing four-dimensional chess.
Yeah.
In fact, they think four-dimensional chess is for babies, and they play in a lot more dimensions than that.
Yeah.
But my point is just that if the criminals were set up to by the culture to entrap Robic into this plan, they didn't need Mouse to be the one who told the criminals that their boyfriend was from another planet.
But it made it easier, maybe.
Maybe. But it's unresolved exactly what's going on there. But I mean, it's pretty clear that Mouse has been shopping his boyfriend's past around. Because he wants to succeed in the theatre, darling.
Yes.
There was a fun little line here about the criminals promising extra money if he carried out this job, which as yet is unspecified, and then Robic saying to himself, "I suspected they didn't anticipate having to pay the final instalment of the deal." There's more mention of debt, crushing debt. What about the hospital bill? And then this line. "What's the matter, Robic?" Cruzel drawled, taking a step nearer under the shelter of the club's dripping eaves. I'm just feeling Blade Runner in this pouring rain in the dark. Yeah. Me with my back against the warm wall, the smell of wet pavements in my nose, and a taste like metal in my mouth. I mean, don't you just love that depiction of sheer panic? A police cruiser flew over, high up, lights flashing through the rain, illuminating the underside of the rain clouds over the city. "Hello, Blade Runner." And then another line I liked. "Robic, don't make things difficult for yourself. Take the gun. Just touch it first. See if our information is correct. Go on, take it." I stared, transfixed at the small pistol. "Take the gun, Robic. Just remember to point it at the ground, not at us. The driver's got a laser on you, and he might think you meant to use the gun on us. Come on, take it. Touch it."
I mean, this is risky because this gun is friggin' powerful.
Well, they don't know how powerful it is. Although, I mean, they think it's powerful enough to take down a spaceship,
Yeah.
I guess. So. And then, of course, the gun came to life. A couple of lights blinked dully, and the small screen above the grip glowed, flickering around the edges. And it's funny because for us as people who are reasonably familiar with the culture by the time we read this, we're like, oh, of course this is how it's going to work. But if you were reading this for the first time, never having heard of whatever the hell this culture thing is, this would be like when the gates of Moria are open, you know. There's another line where poor old Robic's trying to explain that maybe he's not the best choice for this high stakes kind of job. "You don't have to be an expert, Robic," Caddis said quietly. "All you have to be is whatever the hell you are. After that, you just point and squirt, like you do with your boyfriend." He grinned and winked at Cruzel, who bared some teeth. I shook my head. "This is crazy, Caddis. Just because the thing switches on for me." "Yeah, isn't that funny?" Caddis turned to Cruzel, looking up to the taller man's face and smiling. "Isn't that funny, Robic here being an alien, and him looking just like us?" "An alien and queer," Cruzel rumbled, scowling. "Shit."
Yeah, they're not a very enlightened society, this one.
Well, they're pretty similar to our world, and particularly in the 1980s.
Yeah, true. Well, he says that he didn't want to be a woman in this society.
Yeah.
Although he chooses to be a man before he leaves the culture, right?
Yeah, but he knew he wanted to come to this society.
Right.
Because he had been in contact, remember? So he'd travelled the galaxy and visited primitive cultures. And look, in the next short story, State of the Art, we're going to deal with more culture people who want to spend more time in primitive societies because they're sick of being in a golden bird cage.
Well, that's what I've been saying to you the whole time. It sounds like kind of boring. There's no suffering for them.
I still think the idea that suffering is necessary is a deeply primitive one. But
for the human condition.
The human condition means we pretty much suffer no matter what we do. But it's not necessary. It doesn't make us better.
But it makes us human.
Suffering almost always makes us worse.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you're getting into the moral conundrums.
I don't think that's true at all. Billionaires don't really suffer at all, and they're the worst.
You could argue that what little suffering they had before they became billionaires hasn't improved them, but yeah, that's some other more complicated issues there. I still don't think suffering makes people good, but that's
I don't think it necessarily makes them good, but I think it helps you understand things and have empathy.
yeah, but the desire to avoid suffering can make people do some tremendously cruel things.
True.
But we are getting to the heart of the issues that Banks wrestled with throughout the whole of his writing career. So, probably not going to resolve it here and now on the first story that he wrote in the subject. And then there's a little line where the gangsters are saying, our radical friends paid a lot of money for this. And Robic thinks themselves, our radical friends. This was funny coming from Caddis. Probably he meant the bright path. People he'd always considered bad for business, just terrorists. I'd have imagined he'd sell them to the police on general principles, even if they did offer him lots of money. Was he starting to hedge his bets, or just being greedy? They have a saying here, crime whispers, money talks. Which is an interesting thing to say. I find crime and money are so intricately linked that I'm not sure I can tell a difference in their volume, but...
True. So what are these bright path people?
Yep. I mean, this was in an era when the Shining Path in Peru were some of the most famous terrorists in the world.
Yeah, right.
So I'm feeling there's some modelling on that. Although the firing of the laser beam at the end is a bit of a bright path as well.
True.
The plasma beam. And then we get the line that would have been incredibly shocking in 1987. I was a woman, I was culture, but I had renounced these things, and now I'm a man, and now I'm here in the free city of Rekus, where nothing is free.
Well, yeah, and they talk about regendering in the book as well, in the story as well, which would have been, like changing your gender and would have been quite, like you said, significant.
I think James Blish, I could be wrong on that, wrote quite a few, because he was a big science fiction writer in the 80s. Still well worth reading. Had a few characters who it was a science fiction theme of the time to be like, well, what happens if you could change gender? What would that mean for how you dealt with the rest of society around you? So it was heady fodder for science fiction, particularly as it was becoming a little more, the hormone treatment was getting better. Obviously, gender fluidity is nothing new, but the means to accomplish it has grown over time, I guess. Anyway, we've noted before that the culture, certainly for the time when Banks started writing it, and frankly, in weird ways, even more so today when it's become such a culture war staple.
Yeah.
Was putting it out and proud that changing genders is something that in a normal society, normal people can do without causing too much fuss.
Yeah.
But he knows what he's doing when he drops it in there. People go, ooh, what? What's that? What's going on here? And then I did like just the line in the middle here. Hey, Robic, cheer up, yeah? You're going to shoot down a fucking starship. It'll be an experience. Hard to argue.
Right.
And then we get a very, very early Banksian nerd out where the gun just starts blathering away.
In Moraine?
Well, I am a light plasma projector model LPP 91 Series 2 and where it's constructed and how it's powered. The fact this thing's got an antimatter battery in it, suggests that it's, you think lithium-ion batteries are dangerous. It's quite the bomb he's walking around with.
It's interesting, I like this discussion how he hears the gun talking in Moraine for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of takes him back to the essence of himself as a person, and in a small C sense, his culture.
Yep.
It does, highlight a really important thing that, we do often overlook in society, which is the integral part of language, to your culture and
and to
identity.
the way you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Banks is, I'm sure, has mentioned this before, that Moraine is, almost a work of art in itself for the way it enables its speakers to think. And speaking in Moraine and hearing Moraine is opening up those pathways that the more primitive Vrekis language has left dormant for a long time. Yeah, I get nervous about the idea that one language would be superior to another.
Well, no, it's not about superiority though. It's just about
Well, I mean, there's an idea that Moraine is superior to other languages.
only for culture people.
Only for culture people, but that then suggests that languages can be ranked, and that in our own world, you could say some languages are bad and some languages are good, and I don't like that concept.
Everything about the culture, though, they think they're superior to everyone else all the time and everything.
Well, they're generally pretty right about that. But if we ever get through State of the Art, you get a book where the culture isn't superior. So we're in accession. So there's that to look forward to. Anyway, moving on from the subject of language and having let the dog outside, we then get to him hanging out in his apartment, waiting for Mouse to come home. And there's a line, I was holding a long glass of Jarl, Wrecker City's cheapest strong booze. It was my second glass, but I wasn't enjoying it. The gun chattered on, speaking to the sparsely furnished main room of our apartment. I was waiting for Mouse, missing him even more than usual. Now, at this point, what did you think Mouse was?
I don't think I'm as deep of a thinker as you.
Okay.
I just thought he was his boyfriend.
Okay.
Why? What did you think?
I was just asking. The gun talked on. It used Moraine, of course, the culture's language. I hadn't heard that spoken for nearly 8 standard years, and hearing it now, I felt sad and foolish. My birthright, my people, my language. 8 years away, 8 years in the wilderness. My great adventure, my renunciation of what seemed to me sterile and lifeless, to plunge into a more vital society, my grand gesture. Well, now it seemed like an empty gesture. Now it looked like a stupid, petulant thing to have done.
I mean, I guess at that point I didn't know what the dynamic between him and Moust was. But I mean, it becomes clear very quickly that, what is that expression? There's always someone who kisses the cheek and the other one who offers it.
Right.
Mouse is definitely the one offering the cheek.
Right.
He's definitely not as into Warbeck as Warbeck is into Mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it's your classic thing that, you look at the way lesbians form relationships, the way gay men form relationships, they're very different. And you've got a woman trying to be a man falling in love with a man who's gay. There are going to be issues with the way they view those relationships, even in a pretty straightforward relationship.
Yeah, I don't know if it really...
She's got big bottom energy. That's what I'm basically saying about Robic. But, so they've got bottom energy.
Maybe. I mean, Robic's the loser in the relationship.
Why do you say that?
Well, he's like up to his eyeballs in gambling debt.
Yeah, I mean, I do like but Banks is obviously writing from some deep personal bitterness here about being a part-time freelance journalist and a full-time gambler.
Was Ian Banks a gambler?
I don't know if he was a gambler, but he definitely tried to make a living selling articles.
Right, okay, yeah.
I mean, I can remember there was a period just after my dad left the Navy where he had a go at freelance journalism, and his advice to me on the subject was it's a slow road to starvation. And not something my mother was going to countenance in the long term. And I mean, having spent 20 years working as a journalist myself, I have a lot of sympathy as well. But I mean, gambling's one of those things that even when you're losing, you do feel a lot of powerful emotions. the endorphins and the adrenaline race through you.
Yeah.
Now I'm sensible enough and have a grasp of basic mathematics enough to know that you're paying a lot of money for those endorphins, and you're not going to win gambling in the long run, because the house is always skewing the odds. But moving on, there was a line here about not being able to face pain, because not the way these savages can. I admire them, fear them, still cannot understand them, not even Moused. In fact, least of all Moused. Perhaps you cannot ever love what you completely understand. That strikes me as a younger man's view of things. So there's a bit here I highlighted. I am Robert Senkill, Vreckile citizen number... I always forget, it's on my papers. Male, prime race, age 30, part-time freelance journalist, between jobs at the moment, and full-time gambler. I tend to lose, but I enjoy myself, or at least I did until last night. But I'm also Baln, Uchersa, Robic, Vres, Schnell, Damflace, citizen of the culture, born female, species mixed too complicated to remember, age 68, standard and one-time member of the contact section. Yeah, and then we get into all the things the culture did to set him free. Because, as the culture is quite insistent, it is not a prison. And if you do not want
Do you
to be
reckon you
here,
can go back?
just need... remember, anyone can join the culture.
But you can't get the glanding and all that stuff, can you?
If you want it, they'll put you under the knife and add that in. But, it's... it kind of makes you wonder about the refugee flows in the galaxy, but I mean, the culture with its orbitals has a near infinite capacity to absorb any people who actually want to join it.
Well, why doesn't everyone just join them then?
Well, because they've got their own cultures that they want to...
They're all seem to be living much better lives.
Well, there are other cultures in the galaxy. Once you've got interstellar spaceflight, you've probably solved most of the scarcity issues.
Yeah.
So they're all these other spacefaring cultures are also having, fully automated luxury gay space communism too. The thing that makes the culture a bit different is it can't resist meddling in other lower orders, for better or worse. Then just a line that jumped out at me. Oh, the self-satisfied culture, its imperialism of smugness. Which is the thing you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would point out here, though, that even here in the very early 15-page story, Banks is landing that at the culture's feet, that's an empire of smug.
True.
I left the culture because it bored me, but also because the evangelical interventionist morality of contact sometimes meant doing just the sort of things we were supposed to prevent others doing. Starting wars, assassinating, all of it, all the bad things. I was never involved with special circumstances directly, but I knew what went on. Special circumstances, dirty tricks, in other words, the culture's tellingly unique euphemism. I refused to live with such hypocrisy and chose instead this honestly selfish and avaricious society, which doesn't pretend to be good, just ambitious. And, we've got more late night reflections of, where the hell is Moused? Always the worry that he might be run over, that the police might arrest him at the club. Indecency, corrupting public morals, and homosexuality, that great crime, even worse than not making your payoff. And of course, the worry that he might meet somebody else. Which, I mean, I guess if you're in a relationship with a theatrical type, that is always a possibility.
But isn't he a prostitute?
Sorry?
Isn't he a prostitute?
Moused?
Yeah.
No, he's a cabaret performer.
Yeah, but this isn't... Well, maybe... Sorry, prostitute might not be the right word. An adult entertainer.
Well, that's cabaret, isn't it? It's not defined exactly what his show involves. And obviously there's some dancing and some burlesque territory going on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why he's so glad to get this opportunity that's apparently going to make him hit the big time.
I mean, this is, the nasty world of, theatre, I guess. You get a lot of freedom, but you pay some prices. I remember feeling cheated when I discovered towards the end of my regendering that I still felt drawn to men. That was long ago when I was happy in the culture, and like many people, I had wondered what it would be like to love those of my own original sex. It seemed terribly unfair that my desires did not alter with my physiology. It took Mouse to make me feel like I had not been cheated. Mouse made everything better. Mouse was my breath of life. Anyway, I would not be a woman in this society. And the way there's a little whiplash there makes me think there's a level of justification going on.
Justification for what?
As in, I've probably made some horrible decisions and I'm suffering terribly for it. But, anyway, I wouldn't be a woman here. I've got a boyfriend who isn't that into me and is betraying me constantly. I've got, there's a bit going on there. There's just a little insight into Vreka's society here. The news was full of executed terrorists and famous victories in small, distant wars against aliens, outworlders, subhumans, which is the colonialist view of the colonised. Moving on after Mouse comes home. What could I say? That I didn't know if I did trust him? That I loved him, but only he had known I was an outworlder? That had been my secret, and I'd told only him. So how did Caddis and Cruzel know? How did Bright Path know? My sinuous, erotic, faithless dancer. Did you think because I always remained silent that I didn't know of all the times you deceived me? Like people stay in relationships where they know their partner's stealing money from them. And I think this is reasonably well drawn here in that sense.
Yeah, like I said, clearly he's more into one's more into the other.
Right. You're saying Mouse is using Robbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Or just not that into him.
Mm-hmm. My dear poor Robbie, Mouse said, looking out from the kitchen. It has been a long day. I think I pulled a muscle during my last number. We may not get paid after the raid. Stelma's sure to use that as an excuse, even if the filth didn't swipe my takings. And my ass is still sore from having one of those queer-bashing pigs poking his finger around inside me.
See? He's a sex worker.
Well, no, it was the strip search.
Oh.
The pigs and the cops.
I thought it was a customer.
No, they got raided.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
Not as romantic as your dealings with gangsters and baddies, but important to me. I have enough to worry about. You're overreacting. Take a pill or something. Go back to sleep. It'll look better later. Which is a way of saying, yeah, I totally grassed you up to those gangsters and try not to get too upset about it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely sus as.
Yeah. Yes. Sus as. Sometimes you're the most Australian human being that's and what did you think then of his efforts to escape?
Oh, it was pretty lame.
Mm.
It didn't seem very... He's just totally undone by this mouse character.
Mm.
He should have just left him.
Yes. I mean, it seems pretty clear from the text that Mouse just ran straight to the gangsters.
Yeah.
And said, Robert's trying to run away. This is the train station he's going to be at. Yeah. And then there is a funny little mention here which doesn't get resolved, I feel, in the story much. He's watching the news. Then the bombshell, just a mention, an aside, tacked on, the sort of thing that have cut had the program been a few seconds over. That the Admiral would be bringing a guest with him. An ambassador from the culture. I choked on my drink. So there's a culture ambassador on the ship that he's meant to be shooting down. And a culture gun just happens to have turned up.
Yeah, so it's the culture is 100% behind the whole thing.
Hmm. There was a little line here about he's trying to figure out who's doing what and why. Maybe the president and his cronies were thinking about asking the culture for aid. The price might involve the sort of changes some of the more corrupt officials would find terminally threatening to their luxurious lifestyles. Seems like a very modern sort of problem in government, doesn't it? And then, yeah, the drama of him getting paged in the train station.
I would just have left at that point. I would have been like, out.
It's something I was thinking, though, that never happens today because of mobile phones.
Well, though it's sort of implied there that it's a similar situation because he left his transmitter.
Sure, but if you call up a train station today and say, "Can you page so and so?" they'd be like, "We don't do that."
Oh no, they would do that.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I can't recall the last time I heard someone getting paged in a train station or airport.
I've definitely heard it in supermarkets.
Really? What supermarket
Well,
was
like
this?
lost kids and stuff.
That's a bit different.
Qantas Club, they page people.
Well, I don't hang out in Qantas clubs the way you do, so. Okay.
I reckon it's
I
still a
still
thing.
think- I
It's
still think-
not as common, I'll give you that.
It's a bit of a lost thing, and
They still have PA systems though.
they still have PAs, but they wouldn't just be paging some rando just because his mate wanted to chat.
I reckon if you did go up to someone and ask for it, they'd do it.
So a line here. Robic, Caddis sighed, shaking his head. He was in some office, anonymous, bland. Moust was standing, pale and frightened, just behind Caddis's seat. Cruzel stood right behind Moust, grinning over his slim shoulder. Cruzel moved slightly, and Moust flinched. I saw him bite his lip. Robic, Caddis said again, were you going to leave so soon? I thought we had a date, yes? Yes, I said quietly, looking at Mouse's eyes. Silly of me, I'll stick around for a couple of days. Mouse, the screen went grey. So we've got video calls, but we don't have mobile phones.
Well, no, he does. He just left it at home so he couldn't get tracked.
Yeah, okay. I turned around slowly in the booth and looked at my bag where the gun was. I picked the bag up. I hadn't realised how heavy it was. And so now we come to the bit. He's in the park. He's got his motorcycle for his getaway. I mean, it kind of reminded me a bit of the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, hoping to just run away into the distance after committing his atrocity.
Or almost any sort of assassin.
Most assassins have better plans to get away, though. Okay, so then we've got the big spaceship descending on the city, not using the space elevator. I just want to say for the cover art for this episode, I used Google's ImageFX to generate it, and I actually asked it for a space elevator, and it drew it in.
Oh, cool.
Quite subtly. In fact, it absolutely nailed the assignment. I was very impressed. So, you know, the robots are getting better and better at taking our jobs.
It's our own mind.
Yeah, it's not really. Anyway, the gun leapt backwards. Light flared all around me. A blinding line of brilliance flicked seemingly instantaneously from me to the starship 10 kilometers away. There was a sharp detonation of sound somewhere inside my head. I was thrown off the tree stump. So then the ship's coming down, and there seems to be some reaction. I would have thought this bright line has been written across the sky. His location is going to be the subject of extreme attention.
Well, it
very
seems
quickly.
like there's a disparity in the level of weaponry between these two. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is all about this little tiny gun from the culture just goes blat, and the starship comes down. There's that, which is part of the fun idea, particularly for people encountering this for the first time. But I was just more saying that the authorities on this planet will have observed where this bright light, the hilltop this bright line came from, and you'd want to be on that bike very quickly.
Yeah.
I pocketed the gun and ran down the damp path towards the bike, away from the escarpment slip. Behind my eyes, burnt there, I could still see the line of light that had briefly joined me to the starship. Bright path indeed, I thought, and nearly laughed. A bright path in the soft darkness of the mind. I raced down to join all the other poor folk on the run. Okay, that's the story. What did you think of that, Sheridan?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool little story.
Okay. And you took 5 months to savour it.
Well, I didn't really. I wasn't reading it for 5 months. I'm not like stupid.
Okay,
Just
well,
busy.
we won't want you to justify what you were doing for the 5 months then. Okay. Did you have any? I mean, obviously there were no ship names of
True.
any note, which is disappointing. Favorite characters?
The gun?
Mm. Okay. I mean, it was 0.1 of a.
It speaks.
It does speak. I think it said it had 0.1 of a intelligence or something like that. But yeah, obviously focused on gun-like things. But yeah, very good at shooting down spaceships, which seems like an odd capability to build into a handgun.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else you want to say about this, or things you took away, or insights?
Not that I've not already said.
Just cool story, bro.
Well, I mean, I've made some observations throughout the hour.
Okay, 45 minutes, but
45 minutes.
Less than that once we edited it back down to something useful. Anyway, it's been a reasonably long episode, a nice return to form. So, the story, The State of the Art, has I think 7 sub-chapters within it. So we will go through that, doing them piece by piece. We won't try and tackle it all in one go.
Oh, but so is this whole book about the culture?
No. So the book, The State of the Art, which is a collection of short stories.
Yes.
Okay, has 2 culture stories in it. One is the one we've just done, A Gift from the Culture. The other one is called The State of the Art, which is a novella.
Right.
Which is at the end of the book. So you can skip through all the other stuff to The State of the Art, but that does have chapters within it. So
what are all the other stories about?
Just other stuff Ian Banks had on his mind in 1987.
Cool.
Well, sorry, it was published in 1991, so it's across a period of time. You're welcome to read those, but for the purposes of this podcast, the next thing people need to read to be ready is the first chapter of the novella, The State of the Art.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And on that note, thanks, folks. We really appreciate you for still being here, still listening to this. Yeah, we hope it won't be 5 months. Well, I hope that. Sheridan probably hopes it will be 5 months. But